Hello everyone, welcome back to this video. Disha here. Let's come to the 16th shloka, which says, thus perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, they become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down into hell. Now coming to the explanation of the shloka. The demoniac man knows no limit to his desire to acquire money. That is unlimited. He thinks only of how much assessment he has just now and schemes to engage that stock of wealth further and further. For that reason, he does not hesitate to act in any sinful way and so deals in black market for illegal gratification. He is enamored by the possessions he has already, such as land, family, house and bank balance, and he is always planning to improve them. He believes in his own strength and he does not know that whatever he is gaining is due to his past good deeds. He is given an opportunity to accumulate such things, but he has no conception of past causes. He simply thinks that all his mass of wealth is due to his own endeavor. A demonic person believes in the strength of his personal work, not in the law of karma. According to the law of karma, a man takes his birth in a high family or becomes rich or very well educated or very well beautiful because of good work in the past. The demonic think that all these things are accidental and due to the strength of one's personal ability. They do not sense any arrangement behind all the varieties of people, beauty and education. Anyone who comes into competition with such a demonic man is his enemy. There are many demonic people and each is enemy to the others. This enmity becomes more and more deep between persons, then between families, then between societies and at last between nations. Therefore, there is constant strife, war and enmity all over the world. Each demonic person thinks that he can live at the sacrifice of all others. Although the demonic person sees others equally rich and influential, or even more so, he thinks that no one is richer than he and that no one is more influential than he. As far as promotion to the higher planetary system is concerned, he does not believe in performing yajnas or sacrifices. Now coming to the 17th shloka, it says, self-complacent and always imprudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes proudly perform sacrifices in name only, without following any rules or regulations. Now coming to the explanation of the shloka. Thinking themselves all in all, not caring for any authority or scripture, the demonic sometimes perform so-called religious or sacrificial rites. And since they do not believe in authority, they are very impudent. This is due to illusion caused by accumulating some wealth and false prestige. Sometimes such demons take up the role of preacher, mislead the people and become known as religious reformers or as incarnations of God. They make a show of performing sacrifices, or they worship the demigods or manufacture their own god. Common men advertise them as God and worship them. But by the foolish they are considered advanced in the principles of religion or in the principles of spiritual knowledge. They take the dress of the renounced order of life and engage in all nonsense in that dress. Actually, there are so many restrictions for one who has renounced this world. The demons, however, do not care for such restrictions. They think that whatever path one can create is one's own path. There is no such thing as a standard path one has to follow. The word avidhi, purvakam, meaning a disregard for the rules and regulations, is especially stressed here. These things are always due to ignorance and illusion. Now coming to the 18th shloka, which says, bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust and anger, the demons becomes envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against the real religion. Now coming to the explanation of this shloka. A demonic person, being always against God's supremacy, does not like to believe in the scriptures. He is envious of both the scriptures and the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is caused by his so-called prestige and his accumulation of wealth and strength. He does not know that the present life is a preparation for the next life. Not knowing this, he is actually envious of his own self as well as of others. He commits violence on other bodies and on his own. He does not care for the supreme control of the personality of Godhead because he has no knowledge. Being envious of the scriptures and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he puts forward false arguments against the existence of God and denies the scriptural authority. He thinks himself independent and powerful in every action. He thinks that since no one can equal him in strength, power or wealth, he can act in any way and no one can stop him. If he has an enemy who might check the advancement of his sensual activities, he makes plan to cut him down by his own power. Now coming to the 19th shloka, it says, those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, are perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demonic species of life. Now coming to the explanation of the shloka. In this verse it is clearly indicated that the placing of a particular individual soul in a particular body is the prerogative of the supreme will. The demonic person may not agree to accept the supremacy of the Lord, and this is a fact that he may act according to his own whims. But his next life will depend upon the decision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and not on himself. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, it is stated that an individual soul, after his death, is put into the womb of a mother where he gets a particular type of body under the supervision of the superior power. Therefore, in material existence, we find so many species of life, animals, insects, men, and so on. All are arranged by the superior power. They are not accidental. As for the demonic, it is clearly stated here that they are perpetually put into the wombs of demons, and thus they continue to be envious, the lowest of mankind. Such demonic species of men are held to be always full of lust, always violent and hateful, and always unclean. The many kinds of hunters in a jungle are considered to belong to the demonic species of life. Now coming to the 20th shloka, it says, attaining repeated birth amongst the species of demonic life, O son of Kunti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. Now coming to the explanation of the shloka. It is known that God is all merciful, but here we find that God is never merciful to the demonic. It is clearly stated that the demonic people, life after life, are put into the wombs of similar demons, and not achieving the mercy of the Supreme Lord, they go down and down. It may then be argued that in this connection that God should not be advertised as all merciful if he is not merciful to such demons. In answer to this question, in the Vedanta Sutra, we find that the Supreme Lord has no hatred for anyone. The placing of the asuras, the demons, in the lowest status of life is simply another feature of his mercy. Sometimes the asuras are killed by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, God's mercy is shown to the asuras if they are fortunate enough to be killed by him. Now coming to the 21st shloka, it says, there are 3 gates leading to this hell, lust, anger and greed. Every sane man should give up these, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. Now coming to the explanation of this shloka. The beginning of demonic life is described herein. One tries to satisfy his lust, and when he cannot, anger and greed arise. A sane man who does not want to glide down to the species of demonic life must try to give up all these 3 enemies, which can kill the self to such an extent that there will be no possibility of liberation from this material entanglement. Now coming to the 22nd shloka, it says, the man who has escaped these 3 gates of hell, O son of Kunti, performs acts conducive to self-realization and thus gradually attains the supreme destination. Now coming to the explanation of the shloka. One should be very careful of these 3 enemies to human life, lust, anger and greed. The more a person is freed from lust, anger and greed, the more his existence becomes pure. Then he can follow the rules and regulations enjoyed in the Vedic literature. By following the regulative principles of human life, one gradually raises himself to the platform of spiritual realization. If one is fortunate by such practice to rise to the platform of Krishna consciousness, then success is guaranteed for him. The ways of action and reaction are prescribed to enable one to come to the stage of purification. The whole method is based on giving up lust, greed and anger. By cultivating knowledge of this process, one can be elevated to the highest position of self-realization. This self-realization is perfected in devotional service. In that devotional service, the liberation of the conditioned soul is guaranteed. Now coming to the 23rd shloka, it says, he who discards spiritual injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection, nor happiness, nor the supreme destination. Now coming to the explanation of the shloka. Therefore, one should gradually raise himself to the platform of Krishna consciousness and devotion service. It is then and there that he can attain the highest perfectional stage, not otherwise. The word kama karata is very significant. A person who knowingly violates the rules acts in lust. He knows that this is forbidden, but still he acts. This is called acting whimsically. He knows that this should be done, but still he does not do it. Therefore, he is called whimsical. Such persons are destined to be condemned by the Supreme Lord. Such persons cannot have the perfection which is meant for the human life. The human life is especially meant for purifying one's existence, and one who does not follow the rules and regulations cannot purify himself, nor can he attain the real stage of happiness. Now coming to the 24th shloka, which says, one should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. Now coming to the explanation of the shloka. As stated in the 15th chapter, all the rules and regulations of the Vedas are meant for knowing Krishna. If one understands Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita and becomes situated in Krishna consciousness, engaging himself in devotional service, he has reached the highest perfection of knowledge offered by the Vedic literature. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made this process very easy. He asked people to simply chant Hare Krishna, Hare Rama and to engage in the devotional service of the Lord and eat the remnants of foodstuff offered to the deity. One who is directly engaged in all these devotional activities is to be understood as having studied all Vedic literature. He has come to the conclusion perfectly. Of course, for the ordinary persons who are not in Krishna consciousness or who are not engaged in devotion service, what is to be done and what is not to be done must be decided by the injunctions of the Vedas. One should act accordingly without argument. That is called following the principles of Shastra or scripture. Shastra is without the four principal defects that are visible in the conditioned soul. Imperfect senses, the propensity for cheating, certainty of committing mistakes, and certainty of being illusioned. These four principal defects in conditioned life disqualify one from putting forth rules and regulations. Therefore, the rules and regulations as described in the Shastra, being above these defects, are accepted without alteration by all great saints, acharyas and great souls. In human society, aversion to the principles of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all fall downs. That is the greatest offense of human life. Therefore, Maya, the material energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always giving us trouble in the shape of the threefold miseries. This material energy is constituted of the three modes of material nature. One has to raise himself at least to the mode of goodness before the path to understanding the Supreme Lord can be opened. Without raising oneself to the standard of the mode of goodness, one remains in ignorance and passion, which are the cause of demonic life. Those in the modes of passion and ignorance deride the scriptures, deride the holy man, and deride the proper understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They disobey the instructions of the spiritual master and they do not care for the regulations of the scriptures. In spite of hearing the glories of devotion service, they are not attracted. Thus they manufacture their own way of elevation. These are some of the defects of human society which lead to the demonic status of life. If, however, one is able to be guided by a proper and bona fide spiritual master who can lead one to the path of elevation, to the higher stage, then one's life becomes successful. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purports to the 16th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the divine and the demonic natures. So we have completed this 16th chapter covering all the 24 shlokas in this chapter, and we are going to start with the 17th chapter in the next video. My name is Disha and I will see you all in the next video.